Hi everyone. Today we'll talk about understanding the context of education and curriculum in the global, national, and local spotlight. Dito natin makikita na ang edukasyon ay hindi lang tungkol sa mga lessons sa classroom, kundi konektado rin sa global trends, national policies, at local practices sa ating mga paaralan. Education is a shared journey, influenced by what happens around the world, shaped by our government's vision, and brought to life by our teachers, parents, and communities. Kaya samahan niyo ako as we explore how this context shape the way we learn and grow. Tara, let's begin! Kung titignan natin ngayon, para tayong batang may hawak na paper plane. We are asking ourselves, where are we now in education and curriculum? Sa global level, mabilis ang pagbabago dahil sa technology at international standards. Sa national context, may mga bagong policies at reforms na sinusunod ng ating mga paaralan. At sa local setting, nandiyan ang mismong karanasan ng mga guro, magulang at estudyante sa kanilang komunidad. This is our starting point, knowing where we are so we can plan where to go next. Looking back at the timeline, everything started when the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 as a global pandemic. Right after that, UNESCO stressed that school closures were already impacting hundreds of millions of students worldwide. Sa Pilipinas naman, halos 32.1 million Filipino learners ang naapektuhan mula elementary hanggang higher education. Dahil dito, maraming institutions ang napilitang lumipat mula sa traditional face-to-face classes papunta sa emergency remote learning. This shift was challenging, but it also opened new ways of thinking about how education can continue in times of crisis. From those challenges, we also learned how to move forward. In the Philippine context, we started to talk about the better normal in education. Ibig sabihin nito ay hindi lang basta pagbabalik sa dati, kundi paggawa ng mas epektibong sistema. This includes having a better learning plan that is flexible and inclusive, better teaching and learning activities that maximize technology and creativity, better assessment that truly measures skills and competencies, and ultimately a better normal where education becomes more resilient and responsive to the needs of every Filipino learner. This Venn diagram shows the evolution of education delivery through old normal, new normal, and better normal. First circle, old normal. Education relied on face-to-face delivery as the default. It followed a competency-based curriculum, but it was disruption-prone, meaning any student events like the COVID-19 pandemic could easily halt learning. The intersection, the new normal. In the middle, labeled new normal, schools adopted by offering flexible learning options of the FLOS and implementing a COVID survival curriculum. This approach is disruption responsive, allowing learning to continue even during emergencies. The second circle, better normal. On the other side, the better normal represents an ideal future state of education. Here, learning is seamless and learner-driven, and the curriculum is disruption-proof, meaning it is resilient, adaptable, and ensures continuity regardless of challenges. Sa madaling salita, this diagram shows how education transitions from rigid and vulnerable systems to flexible and resilient learning environments, for preparing students and institutions for any future disruptions. Kung kanina ay tinanong natin, where are we now? Ngayon naman ay, where do we want to be? Just like this child holding a paper plane, we dream of an education system that can really take flight. one that is globally competitive, nationally relevant, and locally responsive. Gusto natin ng mas inclusive, innovative, at sustainable na curriculum na hindi lang nakutuon sa academics, kundi pati sa values, skills, at real-life experiences. This is the direction we are aiming for, an education system that prepares every Filipino learner for the future. This image shows us what Paulo Freire calls the banking model of education. Sa ganitong sistema, parang ang role ng teacher ay maghulog lang ng impormasyon tulad ng barya sa ulo ng estudyante. The students, on the other hand, are treated like empty containers na kailangan lang punuin ng static knowledge. Walang masyadong space for critical thinking, creativity, or active participation. Kaya nga, this broken skull symbolizes how limiting and even harmful this kind of approach can be, because it reduces learners to passive receivers rather than active thinkers and problem solvers. Stephen Covey once said, "To begin with the end in mind means to start with a clear understanding of your destination. It means to know where you're going so that you better understand where you are now and so that the steps you take are always in the right direction." In education, this simply means having a clear vision of what kind of learner we want to develop. For example, kung gusto natin ng critical thinkers, then our lessons should not just focus on memorization, but on activities that encourage questioning and problem solving. If we aim to raise socially responsible citizens, then our teaching should include real-life applications like community projects or service learning. And if the end goal is to produce globally competitive graduates, then we must integrate technology, collaboration, and 21st century skills in the curriculum. In short, beginning with the end in mind helps teachers, students, and even parents move together toward a shared vision of success. This figure shows us the context of education in different levels represented through an inverted pyramid. At the widest part is the global education context, where international organizations like UNESCO and global trends such as SDGs or the Sustainable Development Goals, digitalization, and global competencies influence education systems. Next to that is the national education context, which is smaller but still significant. Dito pumapasok ang mga policies and programs ng Department of Education, Commission on Higher Education, at iba pang national agencies that shape the direction of Philippine education. Moving further down, we have the local education context, where schools interact with communities, local culture, and stakeholders like parents and local government units. Finally, at the peak of the inverted pyramid is the institutional education context, the school itself. This is where global trends, national policies, and local needs are translated into classroom practices, teaching strategies, and student learning experience. So from the global down to the institutional, education becomes more specific and more connected to the learner's reality. This diagram shows that the education context in different levels is at the center, surrounded by four key influences: global trends and trajectories, national standards and policies, institutional spheres and agenda, and local standpoints and dynamics. It tells us that education is shaped by forces from all directions, making it both broad and deeply connected to real-life contexts. First, we have the global trends and trajectories. These refer to the worldwide movements and directions in education, such as digital transformation, inclusive education, sustainability, and 21st century skills. They set the big picture that influences how countries shape their own education systems. Under global trends and trajectories, there are six important influences shaping education today. First, the UNESCO Sustainable Development Goals or the SDG that promote inclusive and equitable quality education. Second one, the fourth Industrial Revolution or the FIRE, which highlights the role of technology and innovation. Third, international assessments and benchmarks that measure how countries perform compared to global standards. The fourth, the competency framework for Southeast Asian teachers in the 21st century or the CFSAT 21, which guides teacher effectiveness in our region. Fifth, the ASEAN Qualification Reference Framework or AQRF, ensuring comparability of education and skills across ASEAN countries. And six, quality assurance systems like ISO 9001:2015, which promote excellence and continuous improvement in education institutions. Let's proceed with the Sustainable Development Goals of the UNESCO. For instance, the SDGs highlight the need to end poverty and improve health and education while addressing climate change. Halimbawa, noong pandemic, nakita natin kung gaano kahalaga ang pagtutulungan ng iba't ibang bansa in providing access to vaccines and also in ensuring that learning continues despite school closures. This shows that education cannot stand alone. Kailangan itong sabayan ng efforts in health, equality, and environmental sustainability. If we only focus on one goal, we miss the bigger picture. Kaya nga ang SDGs or the Sustainable Development Goals remind us that true progress happens when all these areas move forward together. As we can see in this picture, these are the 17 Sustainable Development Goals adopted by the United Nations in 2015. They serve as a global blueprint for peace and prosperity, not just for people, but also for the planet. Each goal addresses an important challenge, from ending poverty, promoting quality education, and reducing inequality to protecting our oceans and forests and fighting climate change. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals are not just listed one by one, they are also grouped into three big clusters: economy, society, and biosphere. The economy goals focus on growth, work, industry, and reducing inequalities kasi kung walang matatag na ekonomiya, mahirap suportahan ang ibang goals. The next one is society goals. Deal with people's basic needs like education, health, gender equality, and peace and justice, ensuring that every community thrives. The last one is biosphere goals. Remind us to protect the environment, our land, water, climate, and life on Earth, because without a healthy planet, both society and economy cannot survive. In short, economy, society, and biosphere are interconnected, and education plays a key role in holding them all together. This slide highlights SDG 4, quality education, because the education is the key to achieving many of other sustainable goals. If we ensure quality education for all, we can break the cycle of poverty, SDG number 1. We can also promote fairness and equal opportunities, that is SDG number 10, reduce inequalities, and even build more sustainable cities and communities, that is SDG 11. Ibig sabihin, kapag matibay ang pundasyon ng edukasyon, mas madali ring maabot ang iba pang goals, making development the heart of sustainable development. The impact rankings are the first global attempt to measure how universities contribute to the Sustainable Development Goals. Para itong paraan to evaluate not only research and teaching, but also how schools create a real impact in society. It serves as a catalyst for action, a tool for accountability, and also an opportunity to highlight the meaningful work na ginawa ng mga universities. Halimbawa, sa Pilipinas, ilang universities ang pumasok sa impact rankings dahil sa kanilang initiatives on SDG. Number 4, quality education as SDG 13 climate action. For instance, some schools gain recognition for providing community-based learning programs and sustainability projects that benefit local communities. This shows that education institutions are not just centers of learning, but also key players in achieving the SDGs. Participation in the impact rankings is open to any university with undergraduate or postgraduate programs. Hindi kailangan ng malaking research output at konti lang ang data na hinihingi para mas maraming schools ang makasali. Even smaller universities na hindi usually nakakasama sa traditional rankings are encouraged to join. What are the mechanics? Number one, universities are required to submit data at least 4 digits, one of which must be SDG 17 partnerships for the goals. Number two, if a university submits data but doesn't fulfill the requirement to be part of the overall ranking, they will still be ranked in the SDGs for which they have provided data. Number three, the scores for each SDG are based on a series of metrics. Each metric is themed and may be composed of individual indicators. The impact rankings evaluate universities in 4 areas: research, stewardship, outreach, and teaching. In research, creating studies and innovations that directly address the SDGs. For the stewardship, responsible use of resources including people, facilities, and environment. Outreach, engagement with local, national, and even international communities to promote sustainability. Teaching, preparing skilled graduates and ensuring they carry sustainability values in their careers. In short, universities are measured not just by academics, but also by how they contribute to society and the environment. Programs in the impact rankings are evaluated based on how they contribute to the SDGs. Una, tinitingnan kung paano nakapaloob sa curriculum ang mga SDG topics at kung ang learning outcomes ay tumutulong para maabot ang goals na ito. Pangalawa, mas pinapaboran ang programs na may interdisciplinary collaboration, yung pinagsasama ang iba't ibang fields para harapin ang complex challenges in sustainability. Third, programs are evaluated based on their research and innovation. In sustainability, tinitingnan ng quality, impact at relevance ng research lalo na kung nakakatulong ito sa real-world issues. Yung pang-apat, programs are also assessed through their engagement with local and global communities. Kasama dito ang community-based research, sustainability projects at partnerships with external stakeholders na tumutulong sa pagresolba ng iba't ibang challenges. Fifth, programs are evaluated on how well sustainability principles are integrated in the curriculum, mula core courses hanggang electives at experiential learning activities. Pang-anim, programs that empower students to become leaders in sustainability are also recognized. Dito sinusuri ang student involvement sa initiatives, leadership opportunities at extracurricular activities na may kinalaman sa sustainability. Seventh, programs are assessed on their focus on ethical and socially responsible practices. Kasama dito ang social justice, equity, diversity at inclusion sa curriculum at activities. The eighth one is value is also given to programs that promote a global perspective on sustainability, engaging with diverse cultures and contexts. Kasama dito ang internalization of the curriculum, global partnerships, at opportunities for international experiential learning. The impact rankings use 3 categories of metrics. Research metrics, based on data from Elsevier and AI-identified publications related to each SDG. This shows how much research output contributes to specific goals. Continuous metrics measure contributions that vary over time, like the number of graduates in health-related degrees. These are usually adjusted or normalized depending on the size of the institution. Evidence. Universities must provide proof to support their claims, and mas mataas ang credit kapag public ang evidence. These are evaluated against clear criteria and cross-validated when needed. In short, these three metrics, research, continuous data, and evidence, give a balanced way of assessing a university's impact on the SDGs. How does certification or accreditation impact curriculum governance and management in terms of A. Curriculum content and delivery, B. Learning resources, C. Faculty teacher qualifications, D. Financial resources and facilities, and letter E. Leadership and partnerships. The THA impact rankings influence universities to align their curriculum with the SDGs, meaning kailangan nilang isama ang sustainability principles sa kanilang academic programs. This may require schools to review and revise existing curricula para siguradong natutugunan nila ang mga layunin ng SDGs. Also, there is an emphasis on interdisciplinary learning. Ibig sabihin, collaboration across different departments is encouraged para mas maayos na ma-address ang complex sustainability challenges. Sa madaling salita, the curriculum becomes more responsive, inclusive, and globally relevant. In the context of learning resources, universities aiming for the high THA impact rankings often invest resources that support sustainability education. This can include providing access to databases, libraries, and online platforms with materials on sustainability topics. Kasama rin dito ang pagde-develop ng bagong learning materials na nakatuon sa SDGs at iba pang sustainability issues. Sa madaling salita, institutions ensure na ang kanilang learning resources are updated, accessible, and aligned with global sustainability goals. Universities need to ensure that their faculty are well prepared in sustainability education. This means providing professional development opportunities para mas lumalim ang kaalaman ng teachers sa sustainability-related fields. Faculty are also encouraged to integrate sustainability concepts sa kanilang teaching at research. Sa hiring practices naman, institutions may prioritize candidates with expertise in sustainability, which helps build a diverse and capable faculty body aligned with the SDG. To achieve high rankings in the TH Impact rankings, universities need to invest in infrastructure and facilities that support sustainability. This may include allocating funding for sustainable research and projects. In facilities management, schools may prioritize energy efficiency, waste reduction, and green building designs. Sa madaling salita, kailangan ng tamang puhunan at pasilidad para maipatupad ang mga sustainability initiatives ng universidad. Strong leadership and partnerships are essential for universities aiming for high rankings in the THE Impact Rankings. Leadership ensures that sustainability is embedded in policies, decision-making, and the overall direction of the institution. Partnerships with local, national, and international organizations strengthen sustainability initiatives. Through collaboration, universities can expand their resources, share expertise, and create greater impact in addressing the SDG. Sa madaling salita, kailangan ng matatag na pamumuno at pakikipagtulungan para maisulong ang mga layunin ng sustainability. Before we proceed to international assessments and benchmarks, here are two very simple reflection questions for you. Number one, please take note, how can schools help in achieving the SDGs or the Sustainable Development Goals? Again, number one, how can schools help in achieving the SDGs? Number two, why is it important for schools to practice sustainability? Again, why is it important for schools to practice sustainability? Please write your answers in the YouTube comment chat box. Each question is worth 5 points. Let us now proceed for the international assessments and benchmarks. The Program for International Student Assessment, or the PISA, is a worldwide survey that measures how prepared 15-year-old students are with essential knowledge and skills in reading, mathematics, science, and an innovative domain. It helps countries see the strength and weaknesses of their education systems. Para sa mga paaralan at pamahalaan, nagsisilbing gabay ang resulta ng PISA upang mapaunlad ang kurikulum, pagtuturo at mga polisiya. Kung mababa ang resulta ng isang asignatura o sa isang asignatura, maaring baguhin ng mga aralin, bigyan ng dagdag na pagsasanay ang guro at gumawa ng programa para mas mapaunlad ang critical na pag-iisip at problem solving. Sa ganitong paraan, PISA serves as a benchmark that allows nations to compare with others, identify improvements, and support the goal of preparing students for real-life challenges. Here is the result of the PISA assessment. Ipinapakita nito kung nasaan ang ating bansa kumpara sa ibang mga bansa sa larangan ng reading, mathematics, at science. This is not too visible here on the slide, so if you want to see them clearly, you may visit the official website. Mas malinaw po doon ang kabuang detalye ng resulta. But based on the 22 PISA results, the Philippines ranked third to the last among all participating countries. Ibig sabihin, marami pa tayong kailangang gawin para maitaas ang kalidad ng edukasyon, lalo na sa reading, mathematics at science. Another reflection question, you may just write it in the comment section. What do you think schools in the Philippines can do to improve students' performance in reading, mathematics, and science? Again, what do you think schools in the Philippines can do to improve students' performance in reading, mathematics, and science? The Industrial Revolution shows the transformation of society through technology. Industry 1.0, which started in the late century, introduced mechanical production using water and steam engines. Dito nagsisimula ang mass production at unti-unting nawala ang manual labor. Then came Industry 2.0 at the beginning of the 20th century, marked by the use of electricity and assembly lines, which greatly improved efficiency and speed in production. Sa 3.0 or the digital revolution of the 1970s, computers and digital automation entered the scene, allowing machines to operate with less human intervention. Ngayon naman, we are in Industry 4.0, the fourth industrial revolution characterized by cyber-physical systems, artificial intelligence, robotics, and the Internet of Things or the IoT. This stage integrates the digital and physical worlds kung saan halos lahat ng proseso mula manufacturing hanggang education ay connected, smart, and data-driven. Just like industries, education also evolved through different revolutions that reflect methods and technology. Education 1.0 focused on dictation and instructivism, kung saan teachers were the sole source of knowledge, bawal ang technology during the learning process. Then came Education 2.0, characterized by direct transfer of information and progressivism, but with limited access to resources, meaning teachers still dominated and students mostly received knowledge passively with the rise of the internet. Education 3.0 introduced knowledge production and reconstructivism, giving full access to information, construction, and transmission of knowledge, kaya students became more active in creating and sharing ideas. Now we are in era Education 4.0, kung saan classrooms are being replaced by flexible learning environments, learners themselves are treated as major sources of knowledge, and technology continues to evolve as the primary medium of education, leading to more personalized, collaborative, and innovative learning experiences. Before we proceed with the competency framework for Southeast Asian teachers of 21st century or the CFSAT, let me ask you another reflection question. How can we use technology to learn better today? Again, how can we use technology to learn better today? Let's now proceed. Competency Framework for Southeast Asian Teachers of the 21st Century, the CFSAT 21. Knowing and understanding what to teach is the ability of teachers to deepen and broaden their knowledge on what to teach, understand education trends, policies, and curricula, and be updated on local, national, and regional and global developments. Number two, helping students learn is the ability to know their strengths, use the most effective teaching and learning strategy, and assess and give feedback on how students learn. Number three, engaging the community is the ability to partner with parents and caregivers, involve the community to help students learn, and encourage respect and diversity. Number four, becoming a better teacher every day is the ability to know oneself and others, practice human goodness, and then master the teaching practice. So this is the framework of a joyful learner. I'll give you a simple reflection question. How can you, as a future teacher, apply the Joyful Learner framework to apply your students learn better every day? The ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework, or the AQRF, is a common reference framework that enables comparisons of education qualifications across participating ASEAN member states, or the AMS. So it aims to support and improve education and qualifications across ASEAN countries. So this is the purpose of AQRF, ASEAN Qualifications Reference Framework. Number one is support recognition of qualifications. Tinutulungan nito na ma-recognize ang skills at degrees sa ibang bansa. Number two, develop qualifications framework to encourage lifelong learning. Ginagawa ang framework para ma-motivate ang learners to keep learning throughout life. Develop approaches to validate non-formal education. Sinusuri at kinikilala ang mga natututunan sa non-formal education tulad ng trainings at workshop. 4. Promote learner and worker mobility. Pinapadali ang movement ng students at workers sa ASEAN dahil malinaw ang qualification. Lead better understanding of qualification system. Mas naintindihan ng lahat ang sistema ng qualifications. Promote higher quality qualification system. Layunin nitong pataasin ang kalidad ng edukasyon at skills recognition sa rehiyon. Before we proceed to quality assurance systems, or the ISO 9001-2015 quality management system, I'll give you another simple reflection question for the AQRF. How can the AQRF help students and workers move and work across ASEAN countries? Again, how can the AQRF help students and workers move and work across ASEAN countries? Let us now proceed with the International Organization Standard, or the ISO. The word ISO is not, as many people think, the acronym for the organization, but derived from the Greek word isos, meaning equal, as in isobars, isonomy, equality of laws, or of people before the law. Next, proceed to ISO 9001 is for quality management. Quality refers to all those features of a product or service which are required by the customer. Quality management means what the organization does to ensure that its products or services satisfy the customer's quality requirements and comply with any regulations applicable to those products or services. Example, I'll give you a scenario. Sa isang university, ang quality management system ay tinitiyak na ang lahat ng academic programs ay tumutugon sa expectation ng students at sa regulatory standards. Halimbawa, bago i-offer ang isang program, nire-review ng curriculum committee ang syllabus para siguraduhing align ang learning outcomes sa national education standards. Ang mga professors ay nagsusumite ng lesson plans, or what we call the syllabus, at assessment rubrics para ma-approve at regular ding kinokolekta ang student feedback or ang student evaluation para mapabuti ang kalidad ng pagtuturo. Gumawa rin ang university ng internal audits at accreditation reviews para sumunod sa mga regulasyon. Sa ganitong paraan, ang university ensures na ang kanilang programs, teaching methods, at services ay laging mataas ang kalidad at maaasahan. This slide shows the table of contents of the quality management system. It includes the foreword and introduction to give an overview, the scope to define its coverage, and normative references, terms and conditions to explain rules and standards. The context of the organization and leadership sections describe how universities structure and leaders support quality. Planning support, do check, act, follow the QMS cycle to ensure continuous improvement. Finally, we have the bibliography or informative show the references, use, and documents for evaluation. Sa madaling salita, this table guides the university to maintain high quality services and compliance with standards. That's all for this particular lesson. Before we end, I'll give you another simple reflection question. How can a quality management system help a university improve its programs and services? That concludes the half of the chapter. Thank you. We will continue next meeting.